And for folks who don't know, the Free State Project is a movement of voluntary human action where we are trying to concentrate libertarians in the state of New Hampshire.
I think we've done more in the last decade than every other libertarian movement combined has accomplished in the last 5 decades.
Are my friends and my neighbors who are willing to stand against tyranny, make their voices heard, and have a goddamn impact.
We have a problem where too many people are afraid to say what they believe in, let alone actually do something about it. If you're afraid to stand outside the TSA line and piss off 97% of people who are waiting to just take the farm building up their ass in 5 seconds, then you're probably not ever going to make the change.
Free State Project, again, it's 1% of the Free State movement.
I am a friend of the Free State Project.
And would you encourage people to check it out?
Absolutely. Check it out. Find out. If you like it, join and continue the effort.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, libertarians and anarchists, movers, natives, and those on your way. Thanks for tuning in to Free State Live, where you get to hear about all the ways you can live free or die in the free state of New Hampshire. First and foremost, it's time to welcome back your hosts. I'm Justin O'Donnell, former libertarian candidate for U.S. Senate and host of the O'Donnell for Liberty podcast. And joining me, as always, activist and author Carla Garrick, president emeritus and current board member of the Free State Project, her fellow board member and CEO of blockchain media company Library, Jeremy Kaufman. And this week, we have Brittany Ping of Ledgeview Commercial Partners, a Free Stater-friendly rental and property management agency based in Manchester, New Hampshire. You asked, we listened. You wanted to hear more about finding affordable housing in the Free State, and Brittany's here to help us explain exactly how to do that. But first and foremost, your weekly update.
This is the opening bit now, huh? Well, this is an experiment, all right, we're trying to figure the show out, and we're libertarians, which means we appreciate the science of trying things and seeing if they work or not. So this is our first attempt at a recurring segment, the weekly update. Can we do the this was the winner, so we're gonna let Twitter pick the winner. Can we do the honorable mention? Do you have the honorable mention ready?
First, the honorable mention.
Okay.
Nope, not that one.
And here's how it's going to work. Here's the tentative way this is going to work. I pick the honorable mention, and the poll deciders pick the winner. But we had people protesting Free Staters this weekend, and this would have been my pick, and I've got to tell you why. Because in every other state, the ineffectual group standing on the corner holding signs is the libertarians. It's the libertarians in every other place. But right. This is normally the libertarians like, yeah, we're upset about what's going on. Stop it, right? And here, it's the other way around. And the Free Staters in the State House, as well as just other people supporting education freedom, they are pushing this really hard. A bunch of the reading this week was related to this because they just rolled up and they just said, we're doing the most aggressive school choice that anyone has ever seen. We don't care. The Democrats are like, well, we need to do an interim study. They're like, nah, we're not going to do
just do it.
Just do it. And so it was really cool to see them do that. And this is not the beginning of school choice. We already have a pretty good school choice program just from last year. And now they're back this year and they're like, it's not enough. We're doing more. And people are very upset about it. But it's really tremendous. It's one of the greatest things that's happening here, the way that school choice is being pushed. And so these protesters were out on the street against it. And it's mind blowing, I think, to see people who are protesting libertarians winning, because I can promise you that is not something that most people have ever experienced.
Yeah, it was interesting to me. I ran into 3 people over the weekend who saw this protest, not all of them Free Staters. And one person actually relayed that they did not know what the Free State Project was, saw these signs, went home, did some Googling, and learned about the Free State Project, and is actually supportive of the notion that, human liberty and freedom don't sound like the most awful ideas on earth.
But the winner of the poll that Jeremy put up of the Re of the Week was Representative Nicole Klein Knight.
Yeah, so there are some progressives in the state house. I mean, libertarians, I think, have an unprecedented amount of influence, but there's a couple of progressives still there, hanging out from some of the more progressive cities. And this is one of the state reps. She's very progressive. This is Kyle Rittenhouse is a white supremacist level of progressive, and Moms for Liberty with Brittany, do you have an affiliation with Moms for Liberty?
I'm a member of Moms for Liberty, Hillsborough County, New Hampshire. Yes. Yeah.
So this organization basically said if you are able to find a teacher breaking this law against teaching race essentialism, so just public school teachers, of course, so it's only a restriction on government, but public school teachers can't say that certain races are better than one another, and just these other things that CRT or whatever you want to call it. People debate what it is, but it's clear that public schools are teaching this race essentialism type stuff. And there's a law against it now. Public school teachers can't do it. And Moms for Liberty said, if you catch someone breaking this law, we'll give you a reward, so a little bit of financial incentive. And this got coverage from everyone. It's going to be in the New York Times tomorrow or something like this. But it got covered by the Young Turks, the Washington Post, the Daily Beast, Forbes, a bunch of different publications covered it. And this state rep said that if you incentivize catching someone breaking the law, that's the Holocaust.
The craziest part about this to me is that it only applies to public school teachers and it only applies to public schools. So if they really want their kids in a school that's teaching this stuff, they should take advantage of those radical school choice programs to get their kids into private and charter schools to teach what they want.
Yeah, and it shows how much the public school agenda is about teaching a certain set of things, because we libertarians and other people made this illegal for the public school teachers to teach this. They have not moved on to school choice, because in school choice, schools can teach this, right? It's not a restriction on private schools. It's only a restriction on public schools. But they haven't moved at all. They are gung-ho on every child needs to be taught by us, and they need to be taught exactly what we want them to be taught. But it's incredible what's going on up here.
Yeah, I was just really struck when I saw that tweet originally by just simply how bad it is. Like, even with everything she's trying to do there in terms of messaging, I was just like, girl, I mean, at least get the quote right. I don't know. We've been saying this stuff, I at least have been saying that, in a different order for 15 years. And I was just like, lame. But,
But yeah, those are definitely the rees of the week. And it's astounding how you're right. They are connected. Like, Jeremy, I think the protester should have won, because it's really fun to finally be protested against instead of being the ones holding the signs. You're absolutely right. And that's even kind of new for us here in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And it hasn't always been that way.
I don't know what you guys think about this, but, I love this segment and I think there's value in it, but, it also, it does complement that sort of thing between the movement and the stuff, right? Like,
the antagonistic perspective.
Yeah.
Increasing.
Yeah. So
I'm a true middle child. That's not my thing either. Keep me kind of partisan in the middle. Like, not partisan. I mean,
or maybe just, we've been here longer, we're trying to run for office, it's a double-edged sword. So I'm going to be curious to see how this shakes out. This is not my first rodeo. It's had mixed results in the past. So I think we should be countering, to be honest, though. I think strategically we should be thinking about writing more letters to the editor and all the dead tree stuff, right? Like, we don't want to seed something. I mean, I've seen some tactics that are being used now by the left in New Hampshire that are straight out of the playbook that we were doing 10 years ago, which might have been straight out of the playbook from, the 60s. So, Orlinsky and those guys, right? So, I mean, there is something tactically that's happening, and I think we should make fun of it, but I also think we should get ahead of it by just passing more awesome things that make them go.
and getting more free staters here, getting more people who agree with us here. And that's really the crux of why we invited Brittany on today, because for months and for lately, every time I see a thread of people arguing about why they should or shouldn't move to New Hampshire, or what's holding you back from moving to New Hampshire, I get the same answer almost universally. It's either winter or
I represent the rent is too damn high party.
Brittany's here to talk about the rent. Brittany, what do you do for a living?
So I am a realtor, and I'm the director of property management for a residential property management firm that my husband started about 7 years. No, we just hit 6. I'm over exaggerating, but I've been there about 4 years. And so what I do is the full scope of what it is like to live in rentals in New Hampshire. So I actually have a team now. It's really excellent, getting a little bit larger, but we manage 320 units, about 15 commercial spaces, and we have about 20 garages and storage spaces that we manage. And condo associations, that's like a small part, but that's what I do for a living. I just manage people where they live.
And when people talk about like the rent being high, like it is hard to find rentals here in New Hampshire.
I didn't pull this data to send to you, but yes, Manchester is one of the hottest markets in the country. It has been for long periods of time. We've, since I've been in the industry and have learned more about it, I transitioned from human resources, like I said, in 2017. Our benchmark where you want to be for a healthy vacancy rate is about 4%. That's considered like normal and healthy. We've always been well below that, but at least, or the highest vacancy rate I've seen is about 3%. And we were operating at 0.9% as a Manchester metropolitan area for most of the past 18 months. I think we are starting to level out and get back to more towards the 1%. My portfolio in specific, we didn't have a vacancy for almost 4 weeks, which my husband's been doing this since he was 18. So he knows a little bit more than I do. For him personally, he said he hasn't seen anything like this since he only managed about 40 units. So it's very low.
Well, some good news.
The good news is that we have a network that attempts to solve these problems. I know that Brittany's company is always happy to rent to free staters. There's other people that are happy to rent to free staters as well. There are properties that you can get that aren't necessarily listed in the most obvious places. I think the number one thing to do is to join the Housing Search Facebook group, where you can post about what you're looking for, what your needs might be. We also have realtors. We'll talk about that, but I want to come back to buying, and I'd like to start by just talking about, I think the sort of when I say most common, I don't mean majority, but if plurality, if you ranked all the different ways that people land in New Hampshire, probably the way that more people have landed than any other way is renting somewhere near Manchester, right? That is the most common way. Now, there's a lot of ways you can come here, so I'm not trying to say that that's 30% of people, but it's the most common thing. So I think we should start by talking about that. We can zoom out for renting, and then we can talk about buying. That's what I was thinking.
Very cool. So I was actually having the conversation with somebody. That's the wonderful part about the community. I moved here 9.5 years ago. And so back then, Manchester was the place to be around people in the community. So coming and renting in Manchester for a year or maybe 2 while you kind of explored other parts of the state and you really got to meet people in the community was very popular. And now we know Liberty Forum does a really good job of highlighting the different populous areas. So the Lakes region and North, what do you call where Bardo is?
Oh, that's Upper Valley.
Upper Valley, thank you. North Country, which is Coas and Coos, or I don't remember.
Coas.
Coas, see, I did it right. And then the Seacoast, and then, kind of where are the Boston suburbs, things like that. But Manchester was, and still is, the primary destination of, hey, I'm going to come feel it out because we've got the bulk of housing in Manchester. So Manchester is, they hold 1/10 of the state's population. So we roughly have about 1/10 of the state's housing. And it is all nice and condensed. We're around all the highways. In New Hampshire, it's kind of a you can't get from here to there state. So it's a good place to kind of get your bearings. I'm also very biased. It's where I started. It's where I stayed. West Manchester all the way. So, but yes, renting in Manchester, this is where the bulk of housing availability is, or even what they call the Manchester to Nashua greater area. So that's actually where we're grouped into when you talk about how the government defines our housing, like housing and urban development. And that's what I look at. And then we actually do get our own specific census in the Manchester greater area. So it does encompass a little bit of like our suburbs, Bedford, Hooksett, things like that. Because again, a lot of they're not real bedroom communities, but they are communities that are sisters to us in regards to the space and access to city services.
But there are always properties available. You may pay potentially a bit more, potentially less. It depends on where you're coming from. If you're coming from, major metropolitan areas and other areas, you might say, "Hey, this is still seems pretty cheap to me." Something to remember is that when you're paying for your property, you're basically paying all of your state taxes. There's no sales tax. There's no income tax. There is a property tax in New Hampshire. And so effectively, that is replacing this tax that typically you're paying throughout the year on your income or on the things that you're buying. So that also drives up rental prices, right? A renter has to incorporate the price of property taxes, and it's very easy for a property to be paying several $100s a month in property taxes because that's your whole tax for the entire year. So also, when you're looking at these rental prices, that's something to consider as well. The rentals are going to be higher here pretty much no matter what, than a state that is deriving their tax base through income, through sales tax, through other
Right.
things.
And of course, that means it is also offset in the sense that even though the rental price is higher, you are paying less taxes on everything else. So, the net, of course, is that New Hampshire is one of the lowest tax burden states in its entirety. I was laughing because before this show tonight, Brittany and I were messaging because there was a guy who I met, I think through like Yale or International Students for Liberty. I don't know. He was probably in college at the time, so it was probably Yale. And he's thinking about moving here. And it's one of those things where he's like, "Hey, can I connect you?" And I connected him to Brittany, and he's going to look at options. If you're a single guy and you're moving out, a really good option to look for is to join some of our groups, and we'll throw the links up for that. But also just renting a room from people. I know one of the things I'm seeing quite a fair amount of is newish movers who've maybe been here 6 months. They've sort of decided they like whatever area they're going to choose. This particular person chose Manchester, bought a 4-bedroom house, but he's a single dude. And now he's kind of like, "Oh, you know what? I can rent out rooms and, maybe include the utilities. And that way, suddenly we can bring in 3 more. So definitely, folks, if you're thinking about moving and one of the things holding you back is the housing, put the word out there. We have a pretty big network here and you just never know. I mean, there may be options where it's maybe not like the nicest place or someone's busy rehabbing or there's work to trade or whatever, but there are options. So let us know.
That's how I moved. So, I mean, it was 9 years ago, 9.5 years ago, but we didn't have income secured. We had all of our stuff in storage back in Indiana near my husband's parents. And Matt was like, "Well, this guy will rent us a room for $400 down. And, we just pay him monthly rent. And if it doesn't work out, he just says peace." And I was like, "Sounds like we have a bed." Like, that was it. We slept on an air mattress for 2 months until my father-in-law rented a truck and brought us storage. And then we put all our stuff in storage here. But that's how we lived for a year. I mean, not everyone's so comfortable with making those big sacrifices and, a couple living in a 10 by 10 bedroom. We were very fortunate. We had excellent roommates. Like, I'm 100% a proponent of that. That's what got me here. I was broke. I was $0 in the bank for a year. And the community really builds. That's the way that we've made the success that we have in New Hampshire, starting from renting a bedroom.
What would you say is a going rate or an expected range of a rate to say rent a room in Manchester? Is that like in the 1,000 to 1,200 range for a room, including utilities? Like, where would you put that?
Oh, Justin's got the charts.
Well, this is for units. So this is HUD's data from October of 2020. And the fun news is that we're about to get new data and it's going to be higher. So if I had to say within the past 12 months, I would have probably said that you were looking maybe 600 to 800, maybe with all or most utilities included. Now, based on if you're moving in with somebody who's, or you're going in on with somebody on a 2-bedroom or something like that, looking more like $1,000 is going to be great. Right where, sorry, I've got kids knocking, but we're going to be fine. That's about right where I would expect budgeting. $2,000 a month is going to get you everything you're looking for, at a nicer property, right? For 2 people to split a 2-bedroom. But this is what Housing and Urban Development says that your median priced apartment looks like in New Hampshire. I'm pretty bullish on rents, and we did just have, I'm pretty bullish on the fact that rents are always going to rise, which is great if you want to buy an investment property. But we did just have a huge, it's a constitutionally mandated assessment in the state every 5 years. And I don't know if you guys have seen what's happening federally with inflation, but we saw a huge increase in the overall assessment of properties, specifically single family duplexes in our multifamily housing in Manchester. So what happened is our shift went from 60% residential burden for the taxes paid by the city. We went to 70% is now our burden. 30% is now commercial. So commercial gained a lot of breaks, which is great. Walmart should stay cheap. That's a sarcasm. And then we are going to see these numbers for median apartment prices go up. And so if you went on like my website right now, I think I'm going to read, but what does Manchester, New Hampshire say? A studio at $896. Yeah, I don't have one of those anymore. It's just, I mean, I might have a little bit, very small studios with some utilities included. But that side of the portfolio, like that used to be $700 or so when I started in this business 4 years ago. So there is but again, this is all of our taxes. This is it. Otherwise you pay for like your car, and that's about the bulk of the taxes. If you're renting that you're going to pay. So that's your water, sewer in most instances. That's your snow, that's all of trash. Those types of things are all inclusive.
Is there anything we should cover renting in other areas, maybe renting in more rural areas before we move on to buying?
I would just make sure you know what questions to ask. What is included in the rent? What does trash look like? I live in Manchester. I've always lived in Manchester. I've always lived in cities. Manchester is not a city it's fine. I grew up in a town of 350,000, and I lived in Indianapolis before I moved here. So we have city trash services. They pick up multiple times a week, depending on where you live. We have recycling services. You don't have to travel far from Manchester to get to the point where you have to go to the dump and the transfer station. And the transfer station is only open certain times. And the transfer station only accepts certain items on certain days in every month. So just knowing that too, knowing, what type of water system you have, what extra precautions you would need to take. If you're familiar with rural living, I'm not, maybe those seem normal to you. But asking those types of questions, especially you're moving from out of state and you're asking those questions, someone who's renting that property to you or considering renting it to you is going to be appreciative that you're considerate of the things that are different and that you want to learn more to take care of that property. And that's the best thing about renting to libertarians, little L, big L, is that you respect property rights and making that known up front. Hey, I want to know what makes this different and how I can respect this property and keep it safe and operable during my time here.
And for everyone listening back home, pipes freeze in the winter. This is a big deal. We should actually start every show with that statement, because I will tell you, my heart bleeds. It almost happened to me. If you're, an ignoramus coming from somewhere where it's warm or you've never had snow, it can be a big deal. You really do want to make sure if you're leaving your property in the winter that you leave the water dripping or take care of the water before you go. So just a reminder. You heard it here first.
If your laundry room is a far way away from your heating system, that you've got something supplementary or you've got heat tape on them. Knock on wood, we haven't had a nice big water freeze in a while in property management, but it happens for sure. And heating systems, like what in the heck is that? Asking questions. I can't hear Justin.
You're on. Justin, you're on mute.
On that subject, we have a very relevant question from Frothy Beaver in Illinois, watching on YouTube. I understand a lot of houses run on LP or oil burner for boilers and furnaces. What's the average cost for utilities to heat your house, or in this case, apartment, in the winter in New Hampshire?
So the
More
way
than I'd like.
you heat your whole house, you have a nice big house. I've always lived in apartments.
Yeah, let's put it this way. I will tell this story quickly. When I moved from New York City, right, you can get a lot of land. You can get a lot for your money, right? So I got a 3-story house with a 2-car garage on the 6th hole on a golf course, and I think it was like $1,800 or something. So it was like half what I was paying in New York for like 12 times the size. And I was like, woo! And then winter came. And then I had to heat this summer home on a golf course in a forest that had never seen any light or sunshine ever. And that was a shock to the system. So it is something you have to factor in. I would say about, someone correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I would say it's around $600 a month, honestly, for like a 2,000 square foot, 2,400 square foot space. So it is not it's not an inconsiderable amount. It is something you should plan for, but the reality is the cold keeps the commies away. So it's a trade-off.
Whereas in my case, I rent a 1-bedroom in East Manchester from Brittany, and my gas bill last winter never got over $35.
How's that possible?
Are you on like the top floor? Do you get all the heat coming up?
I'm in the middle.
Yeah.
You're the little love sandwich.
Justin just keeps his heat off and takes the heat to the floor above and below him.
We did have another question about rentals from Alicia Smalls on Facebook. Are there any good resources for families that might want to check out the area for a couple weeks or a month that isn't a vacation type of deal?
Yeah,
like
so
rentals?
The number one thing to do is to join both the FSP housing group as well as just the general FSP Facebook group. Boo Facebook, but look, whatever, it's the biggest ones. And you're welcome to post basically anything about your situation. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm trying to do. There are a lot of people who want to support you and who want to help you make your move possible. And so, almost regardless, it's going to be the common theme as we move on to other things, regardless of what you're looking for, right? Whether you're looking to rent, whether you're looking for a short-term rental, whether you're looking for to buy, this is the place to be. Like I'll use this as a segue into buying as well. Recently, Jody Underwood, very accomplished Free Stater, leading the charge for education freedom, lives in a town of about 800, 1,000 people, where Free Staters, this is one of the towns where like you can use your money however you like. This is one of the best towns to live in if you're a libertarian in the entire world. Okay. And when their house went on sale, they find out and they say, hey, can we help? Can we let this know, let our groups know a little bit before you put this, on sale? Things like this, where these are getting posted, preferential offers for Free Staters. I could come up with, a dozen examples of this. And so, there's no substitute for being in the groups. You can work with a Free State realtor. That's probably the closest substitute because the Free State realtors are monitoring the groups. But you've got to get into some kind of Free State network. you can do it entirely on your own, but you might miss out on some opportunities.
In general, like what you're looking for, you may think no one's going to be able to make this work for me. And you're just not imagining the mycelium of all of us, the 5,000 people and all the tentacles that we have. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but like I came here to make roots. I came here to create a community. I came here to have a family. We came here to be successful in our careers. And that happens to be real estate, which is excellent. But other people came here to be successful, because they like hospitality, or they have an inn, they have their community as well. It's not just that all I see are people who are movers or friends of the Free State Project. I'm an active participant in my community and in my neighborhood. That's what community is for me. That's what, liberty in my lifetime looks for me. And you get that. I know somebody who is moving from New York State. They actually are set to close on a house, and she lost her job because of a vaccine mandate, and they wanted to spend time here with their family, and they found somebody who needed a cat sitter for 2 weeks. Nice. So they're here spending time building those roots, being in the community early because they found an opportunity, because you're just reaching out, you're asking, and you're not a burden. We want you to come and learn and explore so that we can learn about you. And that sounds cheesy, but it's true.
And, if anyone's watching this and has resources and wants to buy a campground, we can certainly, there are ways to scale up a lot of these things. So, the sky is the limit. People are actually looking, let's segue into buying, and talk about that a little bit. But, people are actually looking at buying either investment properties or expanding into other regions. I just recently heard that I guess some folks are looking at a center in Concord, which of course is where the State House is. So, some people are starting to look at scaling up. I know I personally am looking at getting maybe some land and then doing a tiny home, or, maybe a school bus and a yurt or something. So I think people have ideas. But what's the buying climate like, Brittany?
So I sent Justin some things. Yep. So New Hampshire Association of Realtors is where I direct people. If you want to see what the generic overview, right now our 12-month average, so this is the entire state. This is all 10 counties. This is the average single family is selling for about $384,400. It's really gross. It's a lot of data. But if you like data, I like data. I think it's exciting. Our highest was August in 2021. The highest average was so that was across that month. They sold on average at 410,000, and we are seeing that start to go down. The current is 380,000, so we are below the 12-month average right now, which is what I would expect to see in winter. It's not what we saw last year. And then our average days on market is 27 days. We have between 1.1 and 1.2 months supply on the market at all times, so that's good. It was lower, so it is starting to pick back up. And the good news is, I think if you're saying I'm looking at these and I'm not going to be competitive, one of the things that I saw that I didn't know is really most properties are going at 102% at list price. Okay. So it's really list price is pretty accurate. So if you're saying is this what a house is worth, or I'm not gonna be able to sell, they're looking for a bid war, most are going at 100 to 102% of ask. And they do break down by county if you're looking what the average price is, how many are in there. And condos, the average 12-month of condo, it's kind of the opposite of what we saw single families doing. 280,500 is the 12-month average. And actually the highest in the current, which is October 2021 data, has it at 310,000 per condo unit.
And if those of you guys watching or those of you guys listening want to look at these charts and the stuff Brittany's referencing yourself, I did put the links to them in the description, and it will be in the description of the audio podcast as well, so you can see it for yourself.
And my biggest thing, and I'm not a lender. I do a lot of multifamily. So I did have Matthew look up. I don't like to look at that. I like New Hampshire Association of Realtors. The other one's gross, and you can't find data easy, and I don't like that. But we did look on Naren. which is our MLS, our multiple listing service. And in the past 12 months, 3359 is the number of 3 to 8 units buildings that were sold in the last 12 months. So it is a very hot market. I can't really put that into a whole lot of context because, again, there's not a whole lot of good notes. Porcupine Real Estate, 100% correct. Prices are regional and local in New Hampshire. I agree. This New Hampshire Association of Realtors breakdown is by county. And then I do think that they break down by like things like your greater Manchester area, your greater Nashua area, your greater Concord area. So they'll tell you a little bit more. But if you're looking for a nice generic overview before you start talking to an agent or before you even start like Zillow hopping to see if it even makes sense, this is a good place to start.
Suppose I'm looking for houses that are below the median price. I hear those median numbers. Those numbers seem a little high to me. Where should I be looking, or what should I be doing?
You should be networking. 100%.
Well, there's cheaper areas. I could move up north, right?
You could. Oh, 100%. Oh, yes.
So can we talk about the cheaper areas of the state, or like where, things like that?
I'm just not that good at it. So I could. I've been Concord's about as far north.
Okay.
Pennacook, we have managed about 40 units in Pennacook, which is exit 17. So it's past the state penitentiary.
Okay. So, all right. So maybe at some point we'll do another show on covering the sort of out of city buying, because it's a whole different experience. I mean,
it's a whole different game.
Yeah,
for sure. Your prices are different. Your taxes usually end up being much different. Your opportunities. One of the links that I actually sent to Justin is knowing what you can make where you want to buy. So again, I love data. My background is human resources. When I've done talks at PorcFest or Liberty Forum or just kind of informal, where people ask me for help, like how do I find out what I can make? New Hampshire Employment Security.nh.gov. This is my favorite website. You can go and figure out your occupational employment wages and statistics. I can navigate you around, but what you do is you find your SOC code for your job, and it breaks down by area, because wage data, right? New Hampshire is taking my employment wage data because I pay them, right? So I have to pay the state taxes for my employees. So they take all of my wage data without discrimination, but they compile this nice report. So I use it for the greater good, which is an expectation of, if you click that Manchester area, it might look scary to other people. Somebody like me could help you read it, but just zoom in real fine. So let's just say that you are a general and operations manager, general management, right? There's 2,000 people just like you in the state. Your entry-level wage is there. Expected wages there. Sorry, I'm like zooming in with my eyes. So if you're like, I don't know, can I afford to have a house that costs more? Most places that you're moving from, especially losing your state and local tax rates. Like if you're coming from the state of Ohio, I had a director once that moved to go manage a site in Ohio for us for a year. We were based out of New Hampshire. And he didn't know he was going to get taxed for a school district. So he had a brand new tax to account for and was like, you're not paying me enough because I have a brand new tax to pay. It's my favorite thing about New Hampshire. They get mad when they see taxes on their checks when they don't, when they're from here. What? So you lose those things. And because same thing as from housing, where we have a very low to national average amount of supply. We have one of the lowest unemployment. We've had the lowest unemployment consistently over the 9 years I've been here in regards to people are looking for employees. Employers are looking for people to fill jobs. And of course, it's super easy to walk down your main street anywhere in any of the towns. When I go peruse the towns with my kids' vacation, when I go to parks, you walk and you want to go get a coffee and there's signs everywhere. Your local businesses, your commercial businesses, they're looking to hire. Our Wendy's are hiring at $15 an hour. Our Dairy Queen's at $14 an hour. There
Plus
are
tips.
Yeah, there's a lot. And you can say, it looks like our wages are low. We have a very low minimum wage. minimum wage has not been the prevailing minimum wage in New Hampshire for the 9.5 years I've been here. And this is my specialty. This is what my background's human resources. I have a master's, with a functional, and it's an MBA with human resources organization. There is money in New Hampshire. Now, if you're in a very specialized niche, you might find that you can cross the border in Massachusetts. I don't know where my microphone is, and make the income that you're looking for an additional 8% tax. There are jobs. If you want to live up north in Berlin and get a multifamily for $100,000, and your tenants pay your rent, and you go snowboarding and ATVing every weekend, there's going to be less opportunities for jobs, but I promise there are jobs up there. There are ways.
And actually now that they're getting the internet, that will become a real option.
100%.
They have.
I'm not kidding.
They have Starlink. They have Starlink up there now.
Yeah, they do. I know Barta was really happy when they got it. I do want to mention one thing just for folks listening. There are also a lot of small businesses on the market, like small Airbnbs, kind of maybe a little long in the tooth motels in the North Country that are getting turned over. And I think that's mostly small business owners who got hit hard by COVID, who are probably about to retire, by which I mean they're 80, because that's kind of how they do it out here. So when you're looking for something, maybe if you're not immediately seeing a home, you actually may want to extend your search parameters to look at, small businesses for sale, Airbnbs. I was up in Wolfboro maybe like a month ago, and there was this insanely cute, like it wasn't on the lake, so I guess that would be a downside, but it was this amazing, like 16 cabin 40s style cottages. And if you took that and renovated it and made it like a wedding destination, I think you could do really well. So there are a lot of other opportunities. I think people should just think very maybe creatively, right? People are coming here to help build this new future. So I just wanted to throw that plug out.
In regards to entrepreneurship in New Hampshire is easily achievable. Somebody posted one time like, oh man, how hard is it to start an LLC? It's like $120. That's about it. You writing your back end contract with your partners is really the hard part. And how much do you want to pay a lawyer? Or how in depth do you want it to be? But in regards to saying, like, I want to start a business, I want to start this idea. My husband did it with $6,000, and that was it. And now here we are.
Yeah, I'll also say that I was always kind of skeptical of real estate as an investment, because it's kind of like what's my advantage? It's an efficient market. So where's my edge? Why can I do better than other people? And when you look at everything that's happening here in New Hampshire, where there are so many people who are coming in who are looking for properties, and these are people who are good renters who respect property rights, as someone else said, and you're forming relationships with these people, and you've got a pipeline for them, and they're not gonna be a problem with them paying their rent. They're not gonna try to squat in your property or whatever else you might deal with when you're just renting to kind of random people. And so that is an extra reason to do an investment in property here. You are getting a return on your investment that other people can't get. And so if you have been considering acquiring a property, it makes a lot of sense to do it here, because you have this access that literally it's a benefit that only libertarians can get.
Right.
Yeah.
I was going to say, so many people that I see on Twitter or on Facebook who say they can't move because they can't find housing and things are too expensive. Yet last week we held a real estate investment seminar hosted by Porcupine Real Estate in Constance in Manchester, because a bunch of people already here want to buy more houses and want to buy more multifamilies to invest in, because they are there and they are available and they are worth it.
Yeah, and honestly, just a plug on that same night that seminar was taking place, there was also a cannabis reform thing at Murphy's downtown with about 40 people. And then there was the Reopen New Hampshire Summit out at the Murphy's in Bedford, and that had over 300 people, of which I maybe knew 20, and that never happens. So that means we're just massively growing. So, you know, the possibilities are endless. We just need to, you know, get more people here. And honestly, an issue that we should work on, and this is a liberty issue, is zoning. You know, if you're a wonk or a policy person, come to Liberty Forum and come talk to us, and let's figure out some strategies so that we can build more stuff so that it makes it easier to.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And piggybacking off of something Justin said, I've also seen people sometimes complain about the prices. I have never seen, now people may have anonymous handles, maybe I can't reconcile them, but I've never seen one of these people who complain about it also make a post in the housing group saying, this is my budget, this is what I can afford, you know, this is what I'm looking for, and this kind of thing. Because they're, you know, especially if you're the kind of guy or person like who is an activist, when people sense that you're, you know, you're committed to the cause, et cetera. Like I have rentals that I do sliding scale. And if I see someone who I think it's really important that they need to get here, that you know, maybe I'll give you a spot for free or for very cheap. Or there are other people like that. I've seen people post about their situation. Someone's like, hey, you know, I've got an extra room. You can stay here for as long as you need. Or I've got a room I can rent you for $200 when the price should have been $800, you know? And so people will do that kind of thing. But you've got to come in to the group and you got to introduce yourself a little bit.
And I would say, like, you know, Justin actually had this similar experience. He was looking for a place, and it was not easy, but it was like, hey, here's what I need. Can you do it? And because we were in communication for a few months, honestly, and I was like, oh my God, I got a spot. I got a spot right now. Can you see it? Like,
yeah. I was there the next day.
Yeah, honestly, it was like, I don't even have it listed. I didn't even think I had the turn approved. And I was like, can I get you in to see it? To see if it does fit what you're looking for, because I think it does. And, you know, it's having a little bit of grace with that too. You might not get, you know, the kicker of the unit that you're looking for immediately, but and here it is standard. We do have room and meals taxes if you do less than a 30-day lease. Like my company's 6 months is usually like our standard small, 12 months is our traditional. So you might say, like, can I do a 6-month lease and just really see if I like it enough, or if I could find something else? Or, you know, I will live with it for a year and see what's out there while I'm in the interim. You know, we have people that are actively buying homes and moving out early, and we, you know, you try to do what you can do. But that's my favorite. Yes, you came here, you maybe lived somewhere you didn't want to live, but
I
you
did
got to do the thing you wanted to do, which is buy a house in this market, which took longer than you expected, but you were here the whole time. They came to the cryptocurrency meetup, and they came and met their community, and they started creating roots, and they found, you know, the support system that they wanted. And that's the goal. And if housing is going to be the thing that takes you to not be here, then go find the imperfect one. No, it's temporary, and find your forever home. That's my advice.
I think that's the crux of it there, is that the solution to the housing problem is community, because as long as you talk to the people who are here, they can help you get it done. And the people who are here built a big community, built a big network. You can join the Facebook groups, and on other platforms, you can reach out to people like Brittany and Mark Warden and Chad at Porcupine Real Estate to help you get it done. But just complaining online that nothing is there and nothing's affordable, you're not going to find it if you're not looking.
And sometimes you have to be tenacious. You know, I don't have a lot of, my incentive is to get units rented. That's how I make money. It's not hard to see. You can see it on my website. That's how I make money. You know, that's my incentive. And having somebody, we just had a family move in, and they were like, listen, this is a 4-bedroom apartment. These don't come. I want my family in that unit. Who can help me get what I need? And they got it, and they moved in, and it's excellent because they're here. You know, it is. I just saw somebody post today, hey, can someone help me with a lawyer with my real estate transaction? And all of us agents are like, you don't need a lawyer for title insurance. It is stuff that it is different in having people, obviously real estate in the profession, you know, all those little nuances and tricks and things that were really important in your state might not be here. And so costs that you might be adding to your move don't exist here. I can almost guarantee it, which is awesome.
All right. Well, we're coming up on the last 10 minutes of the show, and we want to make sure we get this last segment in for everybody because this is the most important part. Interaction with you watching to make sure we know exactly what you want and what questions you want answered. And it's time. I couldn't resist using the TikTok music. Well, it's time for questions from the chat. So if you guys are in the chat on YouTube or Facebook, let us know the questions you want, and we're going to start answering them. There had been a couple back. I'm going to scroll back. If you guys see any that you saw that you want to answer, go ahead. Oh,
I just the utilities.
Mark had a question for Brittany early on.
Okay.
Isn't it true that Brittany's company will let you use cryptocurrency to rent?
100%. So I did the math with Justin on Sunday when I saw him at one point about 25%. When we were smaller, 25% of our units did pay in some sort of cryptocurrency. And now it's about 5%, which isn't small if you consider that 320 apartment units are what we manage. And we bring in, about $250,000 a month in rental income.
So if you're somebody who loves crypto, if you're one of the libertarians who's all about crypto, you can actually use your crypto to pay your rent bills in New Hampshire. You don't have to worry about converting it to cash.
Nope.
We sold our house in Illinois to move here for FSP. We're looking for a home currently. Our biggest concerns are community and schools. Any information on this?
Yeah. We can give our answers, but I'm going to give the answer. Number one, join the groups and say, hi. And we're going to answer here. So I know maybe you're doing that too. So I'm not like calling you out when I say it this way, but like talk about your family. Hey, I have kids of this age. When you say you're concerned schools, well, what kind of schools do you want? Some people want good public schools because maybe they exist. Some people want charter schools. Some people want Montessori schools. Some people want to unschool. Like what you regard as good community might be different than what someone else regards as good community. We're all libertarians, but even libertarians can disagree on what they're looking for, right? And so that's where like providing that context and telling your story about what you're looking for is, I think, always the number one thing. But Brittany, please go.
Yeah, so I would also direct you to that New Hampshire Employment Security website. So they have community profiles. So it'll tell you what school district you would be in if you were in that part of the community. We are pretty weird. The SAUs and how they go and how some of them mix in the towns. The representative that presented this newest school choice bill, it is actually because the town where he is, they don't have a high school. So they actually do contract with a local private school for high school. So I actually know somebody who ended up buying a home specifically in that town because that's where they wanted their kids to go to high school. I personally, my kids go to Catholic school. I worked with Kate Baker. I had toured a few schools on my own. 100%. Chris Lopez. Kate Baker was Children's Scholarship Fund New Hampshire, knows about schools. Same thing. We talked with a few different schools. We toured a few. It looked like we were getting into two. And I gave her a call and I said, hey, here's my family situation. Here's my concerns. And that's what she helped me with. And that's how we made our choice. So it is different. That New Hampshire Employment Security, if you like to dig into data, or you can send me an email, leasing@ledgeviewcommercial.com. I'll dig into it for you, or I'll show you easy ways to get to it. It's fun for me. And you can find out what towns go to what school system and what that interaction does look like if you are looking for public school. We do have all of our charter schools in the city, SAU, School Administrative Unit. Thank you, Mark. I lost my thought, though.
So the other answer there is Croydon, New Hampshire, community and small schools. There is literally, I think Croydon is now majority Free Staters living there. So just so everyone knows, the town over from Croydon is called Grantham. It has a beautiful community that is live around a lake, and that's where we should take over next if anyone's looking for.
All right. How are the winters in New Hampshire compared to the Midwest? Brittany.
Yay! So I moved from the Great Lakes region. So I had lake effect winters. It is almost exactly the same as growing up in Fort Wayne, Indiana, living in Indianapolis, Indiana, My family's from Battle Creek, Michigan, Kalamazoo, Detroit, that kind of space. But it's warmer here in the winters. I know I just said warmer winters, and everyone's concerned. We get sunshine here in New Hampshire. I mean, it gets dark fast, but we get blue skies. I always had gray, dreary, nasty winters in Indiana. Lots of snow. We get lots of snow, but it's warmer on average. Our coldest weeks, it's 1 or 2 weeks. It's not 2 months. It's very nice. I love it. I think it's great winters.
I grew up in New England, so for me, it was nothing. And if people's biggest complaint that's keeping them from moving is the winter, buy a jacket.
Wool socks.
All right. When can I vote in New Hampshire? If I buy a fixer-upper and am going back and forth between New Hampshire and staying with family where I am now in New York while renovating, how much time do I need to be in New Hampshire to qualify?
I think we all know how effective the government is at policing what you consider to be your primary residence. I don't want to encourage anyone to break a law, but I think if you want to consider yourself living in New Hampshire and you're not voting in 2 different places, it's going to be completely fine.
You sign an affidavit. You can do it the day you move, right? So you can say, this is the change. I live here 51% of the time, and it happens to be election day. And you can go to your polling place and you can meet with the person who's designated to have you sign an affidavit saying, yes, I am domiciled in New Hampshire. And you basically make a promise to the government that you are going to take action that proves that you are domiciled in the state of New Hampshire. And that usually is like a utility bill, or your your vehicle gets registered in the state, or your ID gets transferred over. I don't specifically know all that. But for good, bad, or indifferent, we have basically the loosest election laws in the country. When you claim I am domiciled here, all you have to do is sign an affidavit promising that you're going to do the things or face charges.
And I recommend Senate District 20.
I recommend Hillsborough 18 and Manchester,
I recommend doing whatever the Facebook group says.
All right. What is better for business, Manchester or Portsmouth for small business?
Depends.
I'm a Manchester shill, but I'm honest enough to say that these are both good choices. And
if you're a foodie, Portsmouth. You don't want to really be in Manchester.
No, the food scene here is awful, but we could fix that in 2 ways.
If you're a smart business owner that wants to minimize costs, you want to be here in Manchester. No, they're really they're both good. They're both good. So I come for a visit, meet the communities in both places, come out to an event in both places, because that's going to be the thing. It's like, who are you clicking with? Because the scenes are a little bit different between the 2 cities for sure.
And they have business networking events that aren't Liberty related as well, like the Manchester Young Professionals or the Manchester Chamber of Commerce. Even though those aren't my favorite organizations, they host events. You're going to meet people who are doing the same thing as you and say, like, what have you found in this instance? If you want a lot of foot traffic, like downtown Portsmouth, you cannot be beat. If you're looking for a lot of space and a nice cost, ease of access to highways, Manchester might be the better place to go. Or you might even find that you're a little bit farther south in Londonderry, closer to the airport. It just depends on what you're looking to do. Community. And it doesn't necessarily mean just staying focused on making sure you're only talking to big L or little L libertarians.
And I think we got time for one more question over from the Odyssey chat. So I can't bring it up on screen, but people on Odyssey are having a discussion asking about the crime rates and whether or not Manchester is really such a high crime-ridden city like they hear talked about on the internet. I live in Manchester, and while Manchester might have the highest crime rate in New Hampshire, it has a lower crime rate than the really nice suburb of in Massachusetts that I moved from.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like the only reason that Manchester has a bad reputation in New Hampshire is because the New Hampshire standards for crime are like bordering on heaven. There's not, the crime's not really happening. I live in a part of Manchester that's like either, that's kind of close to the bad area, or some would say is the bad area. And
the zone.
I came from West Philadelphia. And I'm like, wait, this is supposed to be the bad area? I'm like, this just seems like a normal suburb, So it's very, very low crime. it's one of the I think it's the safest, or it's always in like the top 3. People use different tests or whatever, but it is like one of the safest places that you can live.
Routinely, the top 3 states for safety, every year the statistic comes out, it bounces between Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine as the 3 safest states in the country. And uniquely, they were the first 3 to have constitutional carry and eliminate gun laws. But
I do think, I mean, if you are concerned, so like I have a vacant unit and I keep going, and we're 2 blocks away from a recovery center. So as you can imagine, I've found paraphernalia. And it's annoying. And if that's your concern, it's super easy to not live 2 blocks away from a recovery program. It's super easy not to live next to a methadone clinic. It's not hard to avoid the high traffic areas that have, higher probability of higher crimes.
Yeah.
But still, generally, it's extremely, extremely safe. So we
100%.
should probably be wrapping up soon.
Yeah.
So we're at the end of our hour. So again, Brittany, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed an informative session from us instead of just an hour of seeing what we had to talk about. And we hope to do more of these in the future moving forward. I'm going to let you guys know a couple days ahead of time who our guest is each week moving forward and what we're going to be doing, what we're going to be talking about. But if you comment on the video on any platform, tell us what you want to hear about. Tell us what topics you want discussed and what questions you want answered on next week's show. And until next time, be free.
A nice place to